Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pace Sports Podcast, our fourth episode of the podcast. I am Ronnie Romanelli alongside my colleagues Sean O'Neill and
Hi.
Jackson King. We're ready to be back. We have a lot to talk about, a whole bunch of mishmash things. And before we do get into our agenda for today, last episode we talked about robo-refs
Well, you
and the
didn't. You
idea.
laughed.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
left.
They talked about referees in the NFL and what's going on with that, all that jazz. But I had to leave the podcast early, so I think it's appropriate that the smartest member of the group give his opinion on
We already did.
referees and officials.
Yeah, we already.
And I know all 10 of you that watched the last podcast
Is that an
enjoyed
accurate
the
number?
referee portion. I believe so. I mean, maybe
I think it
give
was
it
11.
margin of error of one.
Did we all click on it though? So
I didn't.
we gotta actually find. I did. So
Yeah, because you watched the whole thing. You wanted to hear your own voice because you're super conceited.
No, I just wanted to see the part of the podcast where Ronnie stopped talking, so I could see how long he was gone because he didn't inform any of us during the podcast. He sent me a text. My phone wasn't on me, so not very helpful.
Well, you know what? In the busy life of the Ronster, you have to.
Sometimes you got to sacrifice.
Busy day. Yeah.
Okay,
So
we got
anyway,
going. Let's get this going.
We're back here, back on track. So I want to give my little piece, and it's not much. When it comes to officiating, I think that the NFL's officiating system is broken, and I don't think that's something that's unheard of. I think if you ask any fans, a lot of experts, former players, especially former players, will say that the officiating and the rules and regulations of this league are broken, and it goes for the NFL and college football. Now, I understand. I totally agree with the leap towards player safety that needs to be an issue that is looked at and
Fontes
rules
perfect.
need to be made. Yes, that's a great example. There needs to be rules that are made to help players. And, I love although Antonio Brown disagrees with me, I like the addition of a new helmet that will protect players in a better way. And CTE is a huge issue with football, and honestly, more and more generations are going to stop letting their kids play football due to all of these safety issues. But here's the thing.
Understandably so, to be honest.
Football will always be a contact sport. And unfortunately, the flags are making it to where it doesn't seem like it wants to be a contact sport. And again, I get it. The roughing the passer, the head-to-head contact, it's bad, but we can't be punishing players for doing things the right way. There's been a lot of flags that have been thrown on players that have not necessarily done the things that the league was looking at to penalize. There's been players stopping themselves from going into players. As you see quarterbacks, they throw the ball. Player will step back and not dive forward. But it's very hard when you're running full speed at a quarterback to just stop your momentum on a dime.
Thank you.
And I know that's what the league wants. And I get, quarterbacks, they are pretty much defenseless when they're throwing a ball, and they get shell shocked by a big hit. But I mean, you have to look at just head-to-head contact. There's no place in it. And the Bills and Patriots game, I'm drawing a blank at who. Do you remember who had the hit on Josh Allen and knocked him out?
It was Jacob. Was it like Jacobs or somebody? It was somebody that I wasn't familiar with in the Patriots secondary.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I forgot the name, and it's very unprofessional of me. But that's fine. That hit was very, very dirty. It deserves a fine. It deserves a suspension. And I watch all these experts. A lot of former players are not agreeing with that. And I'm just surprised. And if you look at the post-game conference from the Patriots-Bills game,
Jonathan
a lot of
Jones.
players are saying, yeah, Jonathan Jones.
That's the
If
guy.
Tom Brady was the one to be hit in the head, the player that did that would have been suspended, knocked out of the game, and fined heavily. Guaranteed. Tom Brady is definitely put on more of a pedestal. That's a totally different topic, but I'm just saying, it's inconsistent, and if it's inconsistent, it's a problem because some players are getting flagged and others aren't, and that does nothing for the safety of players. All that does is make the rules murky. It makes players not want to play the actual game of football, and it makes the NFL a reality TV show. It's honestly a joke, and every play. And as a fan of the sport, as a fantasy football owner, as a bettor, as anything, I watch these games. When a team is a fan of the Giants, I watch these games, and if a big play happens that's in my favor, I don't celebrate because I know something's coming. I know a flag's coming. If it's a punt return, we know a flag is coming on illegal block in the back. If it's a pass that was dropped, 3rd down and 10, great defensive stop. Oh wait, here's the late flag. It's every play it just seems like every play that's big, there's a flag. And Tom Brady even said when he was watching the Thursday night game, Jags and Titans, he said the flags are ridiculous. I turned it off. I couldn't watch it. And that's what a lot of fans are saying.
Here's I'm going to play devil's advocate here just for the sake of playing it. But, like, it's an incredibly hard line to toe here, like, because it's difficult to just say this is a foul and this isn't, and where that line is to create the optimal viewing for viewers, but also protect player safety. Like there isn't like a clear line that's like, oh, they should just do this. There's no solution that just points itself up like this is the way we do it. Like it's incredibly hard, and the hope of the league is that the players will adapt to it. But like these players have been playing with different rules for their entire life.
Adapting to it and changing physics are two different.
And that's the big thing. You've got a guy that he's learned the game of football since he was a kid, and he's been taught do this, and he hasn't been taught things that are dangerous. He was not the kids, that are playing, rookies that are playing right now, or even veterans. We're not taught go after a player's head. Go after the quarterback's head. And, of course, you got guys like Montez Burfict that are going to be that little anomaly.
He's gone for the season, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, he's done. And I agree with him.
Like, this is ridiculous.
He should be banned from the
times
sport.
He's done this, and then his reaction afterwards, that's just pathetic. Like, come on,
Yeah, he's
man.
walking off smiling.
You're doing something that's incredibly dangerous, and after the fact, you don't even care that you're, like, it's not the emotion where, like, oh, he's not even going over to help. It's the opposite reaction where he's, like, proud of himself for doing that. It's ridiculous.
All right, I have 3 more points, and then I'll drop the ref thing.
Quick?
One point. Yes, very quick.
It's been 7 minutes.
Let me see if I remember them. Okay, first point. 16.2% increase in total penalties in weeks 1 and 2 of this season compared to last season. That's a joke. Holding penalties are becoming outrageous. Every play, if you ask a player, it's not just me on my high horse, a guy I've never played football, but I'm not the only one.
I can attest.
Holding is on every single
play.
That's
play.
the problem, though. Some people can get away, like some plays are getting away with it.
You're supposed to get away with it.
And that's the problem. It's inconsistent.
Super tough to call, though, and like if you can't just like on a human, you know how like on Madden you could turn penalties to like a certain area where like, oh, I want 50% of the. You can't tell a ref, hey, you're on 50% penalty here. Like it's
I
not
get that.
like it's incredibly tough to do that. To like,
I get that, but the rules need to change. The refs do what the refs are taught.
If the ref sees it, then he's going to call it. Like it is just the vision of the ref that he.
And that brings me to my next point. The refs don't always see everything, and that when it comes to referees and reviews and everything, they introduced the new pass interference review. Hasn't really done much. A lot of people are getting annoyed at it.
To be fair, they don't see anything in the review either, which is what baffles me.
And that's another thing. But when it comes down to reviews, and I said it from the beginning, when it came to sports, bringing in any sport, hockey, baseball, football, when they bring in reviews, in the beginning, it was a little tiny review. You have 2 challenges. If you are incorrect on your first challenge, you lose a timeout, and you only have 1 more challenge left. You lose that, then you can't challenge a play. You cannot review a play. So even if there's something so clear to you, you cannot challenge because you were incorrect the first couple times. If you are going to review one thing, and I'm not saying we should do this, but I'm saying this is what it has to be if you want to review something. If you have to review one thing, you have to review everything. And that I don't like that. I don't want to review everything because that takes the personal point of sports. That becomes robo sports. It becomes robots officiating sports, and I don't think that's fair.
This is the solution.
Human error.
Implement it in a good way. So this is what you do. You have 6 refs that aren't on the field. Those refs are literally just watching videotape of the game, And
Correct.
the refs on the field, they have earpieces on, and they tell them,
Yep.
"Hey, this is a hold. This is that," and they can see from the air. You don't.
Yes.
Well, half the time, especially in the NFL, where you need a person, there are enough cameras around where you can get every single view a
Yes.
ref has. So
That's
it
what I was
seems
about to say.
ridiculous that like this isn't a solution that's been proposed
Yes,
like on
I
a
think
serious basis.
there needs to be officials in the booth of every sport, not just football. I think hockey in the playoffs in 2018 playoffs in the 2018 playoffs, there were huge issues with the officiate, and even the NHL came out with statements in the Sharks and Knights
Oh god,
series.
that was a
Major, and even in the Stanley Cup final, the
yeah.
Blues and Bruins, there were huge missed calls and calls that were outrageously bad and ridiculous.
Hockey is by far the hardest officiating
It is, and
sport.
especially with the home
It's-
ice
yeah,
advantage.
yeah,
Especially with
it's
the home
tough.
ice advantage. But it doesn't mean anything. And you need officials in the booth. I know we have Toronto and all, and you have the people, the review system, and we need people at the stadium watching the game, earpieces in every ref, like you said, and that's what I totally agree with. The refs on the field need to be less important than the people in the booth. And until that happens, we're going to get crazy human error, which is fine, but not fine in the world of reviewing.
And that eliminates reviews too, because they should be able to get like an immediate decision from there, and they just tell them on the earpiece. They don't have to go to the sidelines, and that should eliminate a lot of the reviews too. It should be faster.
Really, it needs to be on everything. It needs to be on flags. It needs to be on catches. It needs to be on scorings and scoring plays. It needs to be on fumbles. Everything.
And I think
especially roughing the passer.
I think if every holding starts to get called that way, then people will hold that. Like if they know it's going to get called no matter what, you'll quickly have a learning curve of what gets called there, and you won't have the biggest inconsistency. Because right now, penalties get called because of inconsistency. Like people don't know what counts as a hold and what doesn't count as a hold because they can get away with something one time and they're like, oh, that's okay, and they do the exact same thing and they get called the next time.
The general rule on holding, I'm just going to put this for that argument. The general rule on holding is if it's between the shoulders and on the shoulder pads, it's fine. If you're outside the shoulders or tugging on the jersey, or if you're beat, you have to let the guy go.
Yeah. But
that's when it should be called.
There's so many people that are beat and they hold and they don't get called for it, so they're like, oh, I can get away with this sometimes, so it's worth it for me to do it. It's worth it for me to stop the obvious sack and take the chance that they miss it and they don't have it. But if you eliminate that, then that doesn't happen as much.
Right. One more point I have to make on the ref. It's really quick.
Make it quick, please.
In the Bucks-Rams.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God, that game was horribly officiated.
The officiating was one of the worst I've seen. Definitely the worst this season. One of the worst I've seen, especially on the last drive of the game, or the second to last, where the Rams were trying to tie the game. Carl Nassib does what I don't know what he was thinking. He jumps over the line and tries to say, "Hey, you missed a false start. Here I am." So he gets flagged for it. Now, they did miss a false start. They missed a very clear false start. However, it was not – Nassib definitely should not have done that, and they got penalized for it. Then very next play, I guarantee – I don't like these conspiracy theories. As a sports fan that loves these sports and these leagues, however –
these refs that make up the calls on the next play.
The very next play, Cooper Kupp gets a screen pass, not even near him. Now, that's fine. If Cooper Kupp had a pass interference on it, that if he did offensive pass interference and the pass was to him – I'd be fine with it. They throw the flag. I'm like, Cooper Kupp, he didn't even look like he was near anybody. The pass was totally
He was blocking slightly past the yard.
They don't call it on Cooper Kupp. They call it on Brandon Cooks, who's just blocking.
Yeah, he is more than a yard down the field. It was a yard and a half. But like,
it was the worst call I've ever seen.
It was the right call by the book, but it's a call that doesn't get made.
It was a major call that took the whole game out. Now, I'm not saying the Rams deserved to win that game. They really did not. But it definitely took any shot at them trying to come back out of the game, out of the way, because I don't believe in the makeup calls. But if there was ever a makeup call, there you go, bingo, right there, because they missed a false start.
And then on that goal line play later, I thought he was offside. The Bucks guy was offsides by a mile.
On the interception?
Yeah, to end the game.
I agree.
There's no way you jump it that well. No way.
It was close. That's all. Okay, let's get to the games.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Eagles-Packers was the first Thursday night game. That's a game we should probably talk about. The Eagles ended up pulling that one out.
That one, that one was important.
It just goes to show you that the NFC is very up for grabs. I think the AFC is down to the Chiefs and Patriots. NFC could go to anybody. It could be the Cowboys, Eagles, Packers, Saints, even the Bears. Lions.
You want to
I mean, give it to anybody. The Giants.
The very interesting part about that game was Carson Wentz throws for 160 yards and Aaron Rodgers throws for 422.
Yeah, I know.
And neither one threw a pick or anything, so it wasn't
the
like
Packers lost that game.
Yeah.
Okay, we can
they
skip
won
the Chargers.
Game. They were moving the ball well, and
Patriots, Bills. That was important. Bills are the real deal. Bills defense is the real deal.
I agree. Yeah, the Bills defense
real deal.
That was good.
They're a good team, but it's just a shame that they have such a juggernaut. I think the best offensive and defensive team, and I said it before the season. I don't think the Patriots are going to do it. I think the Patriots win the Super Bowl. That's it. I give up. I can't take it anymore. I'm just going to ride with them.
Especially now that the Chiefs.
Because maybe if we root for them, they'll lose the time.
The Chiefs win that game, but they looked very vulnerable against the Lions team.
Yeah, Mahomes did not do that well.
Yeah,
touchdowns.
That was uncharacteristic in a lot of ways.
I think that was more an attest to the Lions than it was the Chiefs, personally.
I told you I believe in the Lions.
Because we put Mahomes on such a pedestal that, he's going to throw 400 yards, 4 touchdowns a game. Yeah, he does that most of the time. But if he's allowed to have an off day like anybody else, but I don't think we give him the credit for that.
I'm telling you, you got Matthew Stafford who can throw with the best of them when he's on his game, and you finally got a running game down there in Detroit, and as long as their defense can just be average, they'll be a good team.
All right.
Did anybody really have a doubt that the Chiefs were going to win that game? I mean, that they were not going to win that game.
Did.
And the Lions, ESPN gave them a 99.9% chance of winning. At 1:06 left in the fourth, they had a 99.9% chance of winning, and they lose.
All right. Yeah. Redskins, Giants. We know the Redskins are trash. We know Dwayne Haskins isn't ready to play in the NFL yet, but yet we're going to throw him out there in the middle.
Agree.
Yeah, that was just a game where the Giants are clearly getting better, and Washington is not getting better anytime soon.
Daniel Jones, I want to say he's the real deal. However,
I want to see what people do when they can game plan for him a little better.
My one thing is, the Bucks, who were going to say, "Oh my God, they were amazing." No, their defense is still a dumpster fire. They didn't know how to game plan against him. They just game plan. Let me speak
to this Bucks defense. That ties a record for 4 games in. He's been really good, and their defense is good in waves.
Waves.
And they game planned for Eli Manning. They didn't change what they did, and they clearly got beat by him being able to run down by the goal line.
They game planned for Saquon and Guest on Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones beat them. And I'm not saying Daniel Jones is trash.
They even really game planned for. They stopped literally every running back. They had 3 great running backs come in, and they stopped all 3 running backs combined for less than 70 yards.
I'm just gonna hold off on the Daniel Jones hype until next week or 2 weeks next week. They got the Vikings.
I think we learned that the Falcons are just not going to be good this year. The Titans won that game, and it's hard.
Very crazy, just crazy. I don't get it.
I looked at the stats, and I'm like, how did the Falcons put up 10 points?
Matt Ryan throws for 397 yards.
Yeah,
no touchdown,
no interception.
No running game to speak of from Atlanta.
Yep. Austin Hooper, 9 catches, 130 yards. Devontae Freeman, 12 carries for 28.
Tanking for Jonathan Taylor.
And Derrick Henry had one of those good games. He didn't have any touchdowns, but he ran for 100 yards.
Yeah, he's a workhorse back when he's healthy, and that's important for Tennessee if they want to make any type of run for that division, which is still open.
Yep. I agree.
Raiders, Colts.
Of course, yeah. This game's not. The Colts aren't obviously what we.
Raiders offense.
It shows the Colts need T.Y. Hilton to spread it out because they can't.
Both teams are average at best at this point.
Seahawks.
I think the Colts are a tad above average, but okay.
Panthers got a huge win. They absolutely needed to win this game to stay in relevancy. Yeah. So like that 2-2 is kind of what they need to do. The Texans were brought back down to earth.
I think
they probably weren't that great of a 2-1 team to
Panthers'
begin with.
last 2 weeks is a testament to Cam Newton than it is to their team.
Cam Newton is not at full strength. Hopefully he can come back healthy. That's what we want to see.
I think they finally are giving Cam a chance to get back healthy. And I'm not putting Cam and Drew Brees on the same playing field as far as their stature for their careers, but it's going to be the same exact thing. They're both trying to keep afloat until Cam and Drew Brees get back.
And they're
doing a great job at it.
Cam Newton's he's not as good as Drew Brees, but he's as important to the Panthers as Drew Brees is to the Saints. You need that starting QB to be able to feel confident going into the playoffs. So, like, even if they don't make the playoffs, I would just give Cam Newton the year to get better. Just, like, literally put bubble wrap around him and make sure he's ready for next year, because he's their franchise QB, and he needs to be healthy. You worry more about the future years with him.
They're already looking at other options. They have Kyle Allen. They're saying, wow, Kyle Allen, 3-0 in his start, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. We have Will Grier behind him. They're honestly fine whether Cam stays or leaves. I'm a
big fan of Will Grier. I think when he gets going, I think he could be a really good QB if someone gives him a chance.
Christian McCaffrey is the most talented offensive weapon in the league, and that's what my takeaway is.
Because he's on your fantasy league.
No, I mean, the man
93 yards, and he caught for 86. He had a good week.
And he made an amazing catch.
Yeah, his hands are so good. He has better hands than 95% of the wide
loved Christian McCaffrey since he was in college, but just had to book Ronnie because first overall.
Let's keep moving.
CMC.
Browns beat the Ravens.
Big game for Baker.
Mm-hmm.
However, his post-game press conference was utterly disgusting.
What did he say?
I just
missed that.
It was the same, keep throwing us in the garbage and we're going to, keep winning.
They've been sitting in the garbage for 20 years. They grew up there.
Get out of here. This is not college football. The Browns, these are veterans.
My takeaway from that game. Nick Chubb looked like he did at his prime in Georgia. Nick Chubb looked really good in that game.
His prime, he's 22.
Yeah, he got injured, though. No, I'm saying when he was at his top of his game before he got injured for Georgia, he looked really good, and that hurt his draft stock, and I think the Browns had a steal with him. I think he's the top back.
My thing on Baker Mayfield, going back to Baker Mayfield, is he is a very talented player, I think. I don't think he's the greatest quarterback we've ever seen, and a lot of people overhyped him coming out of college. I think he needs to just lay on the field and let his play talk for him. He's given a lot of talking, and it's getting a lot of players around the league a little perturbed.
And Rex Ryan.
As we've seen.
Freddie Kitchens gets fired. Rex Ryan takes over the coaching job.
I would love that. John Fox, assistant coach.
He'd love to see.
We already talked about this Patriots-Bills game, but the Patriots won that game. And I think, we expected the Patriots to win, and the takeaway is the Bills actually played pretty well. So that's more of a positive on the Bills' fact, even though they lost.
If Josh Allen stays healthy, I think the Bills would have won that game. If he didn't get Bountygate 2.0 over here.
I want you to take a second to look at the Patriots' schedule, the strength of schedule. First off, they take on at home. They take on they destroyed an 0-3 Steelers team. Now, they had Big Ben, so I guess it's more challenging, but they totally slapped them around. And that was a home game, so there's no doubt the Patriots are going to win the game. Then they go to Miami. They shut them out 43-0. Then they play the Jets, Sam Darnold Jets. Then they take down the Bills. That's probably the toughest game in a while.
That's the toughest game I think all year.
Next week they go to Washington. Then they go home against the Giants. Okay, Daniel Jones now. Not going to happen. Then they go back to the Jets. So I see 7-0 guaranteed. Then they play home against the Browns. I see 8-0. They go to Baltimore. I think it's 9-0. Eagles might give them some trouble. But I think I see 10-0. Home against the Cowboys, 11-0. Texans, Chiefs. Chiefs are interesting, but I think that the Patriots are not going to lose a game all season, which is something that it's blasphemous to think. 4 games through.
It's frustrating looking at their schedule.
Like, the odds.
Even before the year started, I'm looking at the schedule. I'm like, their floor is 13-3. That's their floor. That's the worst they could have done. But like before the season started, before we got our first impressions, I'm saying Patriots, the worst they're going to do is 13.
The floor is lower because Tom Brady can always get injured. But with Tom Brady healthy, that's their floor.
Their backup's probably
They'll still be good.
Aaron
They're
Rodgers.
still a good team.
Their backup is Brian Hoyer, isn't it?
Backup.
Oh man, never mind.
They're still a good team because.
Cody Kessler.
Oh yeah,
you're above 500 team no matter who you put back there. But
well, because they have the best defense in the league now. What is stopping Drew Brees from winning Drew Brees? Thinking of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. What's stopping Tom Brady from winning again?
I don't know. The Chiefs we just saw were vulnerable, and I don't. There's no Saints. There's no team on the other side that I'm like, oh, this team's really good.
No, because the Patriots' defense is the best in the league.
Feels like the easiest path they've had yet.
So I just saw a stat today. The top 3 leaders in interceptions in the National Football League, all Patriots. All 1, 2, and tied for 3rd are Patriots. With 4, 3, and 2 respectively. Granted, their samples are terrible because you get the Jets, Dolphins, and terrible Steelers. And the
Can
Bills,
we get to this Bucs-Rams game?
No, we can skip
what a
that
fun one. What a fun one.
Fun one.
Okay, my takeaway. What is Ndamukong Suh 40? Man, that man was
that man was moving. I'm not gonna lie. he was. I was like blown away. It was actually
really fast,
impressive speed. Yeah, because he broke a tackle too.
Also, Aaron Donald did nothing in that game, and he hasn't done much to begin in the
the Rams haven't done anything.
Yeah. They had the quietest 3-0 start because it wasn't very strong, and they
evidently
68 passes, Jared Goff.
Yeah, that's way too many.
For a system
Todd Gurley only has 16 yards. He only had 5 carries. They only gave the ball because they got
they're down 21-0.
Yeah, they got behind so early, and that's what happens.
I'm pretty sure Todd Gurley's arthritis is rubbing off on Malcolm Brown.
I will give them credit. They came back. They attempted. They never gave up. You had the pick 6 near the end of the game where I thought it was over, and they had a shot. They didn't give up, but Tampa's offense was just too much for them. But how do you score 40 points in the National Football League and lose at home?
Yeah,
it's just unbelievable. And not only do you score 40 points, you are considered one of probably the Bears are the number 1, but if not the best defensive team in the AFC or in the NFC. So. I mean, I just 55 points. Wade Phillips. Woof.
What happened? I think this is big though. Other than that pick 6 he threw late in the game when I think he was trying to overdo it a little bit, trying to match the quick movement by the Rams. I mean, Jameis Winston's looking better as far as holding onto the ball, and you hope he's made that next step. This is just a showing of that. I don't think he's this kind of QB that like he's been showing. This is probably his ceiling, but I mean. Yeah, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. I mean, he's been one of the best QBs this year. So,
how many times have we said this about Jameis, though? I mean, aren't you sick of? Jameis.
I know. But like, as a guy who's watched Jameis a lot, and like, you can tell when he has a big game, but like, he could have had a lot more picks because he looked panicked multiple times. He's definitely since the end of last year, he's looked more calm in the pocket and more. There's less of those panic picks. Those picks where he's fumbling around and he's just like he's going down to the ground. He just throws the ball up. He looks a lot more willing to not try and make the throw to like, oh, we absolutely need this. That I'm going to put everything on my shoulders throw. Mm-hmm. That's been encouraging. I mean, the 49ers game, it was late in the game where it started to show that he was doing that because he was trying to bring his team back, which I don't have as big of a problem. But since then, he's looked good, especially against this Rams defense, which was apparently good. But didn't look good then. Let's keep going. Seahawks, that was a big win. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but the Seahawks, they got beat at home, and it's like they need something here. And this was an upset alert because, I mean, you have a Cardinals team who's not playing great, but they're at home against a Seahawks team that just come off a bad loss, and you're like, maybe they can pull it out, maybe some Kyler Murray magic, but the Seahawks.
Cardinals are just a bad team.
They are. I mean, I feel bad for Kyler Murray because it's not really his fault. The team is just bad.
They'll improve as time goes on, but
yeah, they just.
I don't think he's the greatest, and I know that team is not the greatest, so they're just going to struggle.
Bears win a quintessential Bear game, 16-6, but that offense needs to get going if they're ever going to be really. They need to find a way to be an average offense at least.
At least Chase Daniel came in and posted, I believe, the second best or third best QBR of any quarterback this week. Granted, he played less time, but still had 22 completions for out of 30 attempts, 195 yards, no picks. Did solid, came in. He looked better than Mitchell Trubisky has this year. Other than at Washington, but I mean, was he amazing at Washington? I think it was a lot of the defense, but Chase Daniel came in, got the job done. Big home win against a big.
Also secured the fact that I will never watch a Bears game if it's not in the postseason because these games have all been terrible. Oh my goodness. It feels like no one is moving the ball the entire game. It's just like this game of like, oh, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Oh,
they're fun if you got the under.
It's yeah, I guess. Jaguars and Broncos. I mean, Minshew, he's looking okay. He's looking like an average QB.
I think he's above average, and I think Jags win the Super Bowl.
I think Sean's having mic problems.
Oh, that's all right. Well, you know what? Solid game for the Jacksonville. It's never easy to go across the country, and it's never easy to play in Denver. And they, rough start. They were down 17-6 at halftime. Mm-hmm. They got through it. Their offense looked solid. Fournette, really good game for him. And Minshew did the job. He got the job done. Although none of the receivers really stood out, I think it's just like a ball share here in the receiving core, and some nice sneaky plays on offense. Jags, nice win, 2-2. They could definitely win that AFC South.
Yep, they definitely could. They're gonna have to be led by their defense, and just hope the offense does enough. But Sean's trying to come through. They're ecstatic.
My bad. Hello?
Oh, he's back. Super quiet, though, right now. No, I can't hear you at all. Okay, let's just keep moving on.
Sunday Night Football, I believe, is next, right?
We have Monday night. Oh, you're super quiet.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, super quiet, though.
Go along with it.
Okay.
Cowboys, Saints.
The Saints won this game. Not a super fun game to watch. It's not like Teddy.
Really ugly game to watch. Really,
yeah.
You took Will Lutz and J. Lee Fantasy. You were really happy about yourself.
You're getting louder as you speak.
You told me I was quiet, so I started yelling.
Okay, that works.
Yeah, just like a really ugly game. Yeah. Dallas. It just shows that Dallas will not be successful on offense if Ezekiel Elliott does not. If not just Ezekiel Elliott, but if anybody cannot run the ball. And Elliott had one of his worst games of his career, averaged 1.9 yards per carry. And although Dak Prescott did not blow anybody away, he was solid. He wasn't the stat line may confuse you and deceive you, but Dak Prescott was the only reason why they put 10 points up. Other than that,
people started to realize that they're throwing because they can't run. So, he was still okay, and this is a big game for the Saints. They just need to win. Winning this kind of game when you don't have Drew Brees and you're just trying to survive until you get him back, it's a big game for the Saints. Big win. You just need to pull out games like this.
Right. Well, looking at the Saints now, I'm thinking Saints are the team to beat in the NFC. If they're beat,
when they get back Drew Brees, they're by far the best team.
If they're beating Drew Brees, I don't see why they can't win it all this year.
There's not a team that's really close to them.
But since I was couldn't be heard, the 4:00 games. 2 quick things. Broncos are the most unlucky team in football this year. They lose 3 of the last 4 games due to a game-winning field goal at the end.
Not fun, but but
everything.
At least they don't have the pain of being close to being good and losing on missing a field goal.
And they lost Bradley Chubb. Sad to hear about that. And then the Vikings. How do you spend $150 million on your pass game to run the ball 60% of the time? Kirk Cousins, $72 million. Between Diggs and Thielen, I think you got another $60 to $70 million there. Meanwhile, you have a running back on a rookie contract who's coming off an ACL tear from 2 years ago. Let's give him the ball.
There's not much you can do against the Bears defense. They're going to stop most of the pass.
Yeah, but they're just not throwing. It doesn't matter what game it is. They're running the ball 60% of the time. It's great for my fantasy team, but Thielen Diggs hasn't talked in a week. Thielen came out yesterday saying, why aren't we throwing the ball? This is becoming an issue. It's becoming stirred up that Diggs wants out. He wants to get traded out of Minnesota.
Cousins clearly isn't that good of a QB. I mean, it's not just this week. I mean, at his ceiling, he's a barely above average QB, and it's just do you really think you can run a Super Bowl through him?
And they have they're a tough sledding the rest of the way. They got the Giants next week. Ooh, they better throw the ball there. They better start throwing it, because if not, they're in trouble.
We should get to baseball for the last 30 minutes.
No. How about
yes?
No, because that's when we lose viewership. Let's get to week 5 just a little bit. Anything?
No, because we do week 5 at all. We're done. We'll do another podcast for week 5. We can do Wednesday. No,
because last time it took 2 weeks.
No, we're going
to
Wednesday.
basketball then.
No, we are doing baseball. This is the playoffs. This is the beginning of the playoffs.
Basketball's here. October's the best month in sports because basketball's back. Football's in full swing. This Premier League soccer,
and it's the playoffs.
Kid. That's when we lose viewership. That's when people click
off.
All
right, ladies,
we're doing it.
Last. I never said we couldn't do it.
Yes, it is last. We're spending 30 minutes.
We are going to do baseball. After I say one thing about NHL, the Philadelphia Flyers today just lost an exhibition game against Lausanne Hockey Club out of Switzerland, 4-3, and this was the Flyers played their starting goaltender and most of their starting players in an exhibition game, a part of the NHL Global Series at Lausanne FC. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, Lausanne or Lausanne. They win 4-3. They were up 3-0, I believe. And after that, they were up 4-0. And the Flyers scored 3 unanswered, and 1 was in the last 2 minutes with an empty net. And they couldn't get the job done. So Lausanne is 1-0 against Philadelphia. And I think that just speaks about, that just tells about the Flyers.
That NWSL game I was talking about update ended up getting rained out, but it got played later. It was between the Reign and the Utah Royals. The Reign scored first. The Royals scored to tie it up at 1-1. The Royals really needed this game. But then in the 86th minute, Taylor scored for the Reign. And the Reign ended up winning. And then they kept winning. And the Utah Royals keep losing. And they ended up getting eliminated. The Reign, the Thorns, the Chicago Red Stars, and the Courage will be in the playoffs. The Utah Royals are now in 5th. They lost their last 4. So that's not what you want to do when crunch time came. That is the worst thing to do in a playoff hunt. So it'll be the Reign, Thorns, Chicago Red Stars, and the Courage in the playoffs. And those games will all be on ESPN, or some form of ESPN.
And
so if you want to watch
throw
them.
in another sport that's heating up again. Basketball's back. Tonight we got the Houston Rockets against the Shanghai Dragons, baby. Who do you guys got?
Give me the Dragons.
I'll take the Rockets.
No Russell Westbrook. Does that change your mind?
I'm still going with the Rockets.
You sure?
Yes.
Have you seen James Harden's one-legged step back? Because that's the only reason I'm watching. I want to see that shot. The one-legged faded corner shot. I want to see it.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the Shanghai Sharks.
Oh, Shanghai Sharks. Oh, my bad. Shanghai Sharks.
I'm not sure. That's what the team I've heard about. And they're talented, but they're not going to beat the Rockets.
Okay. Let's get to baseball. I've got a ton to say. So,
all right, me too.
Peace.
All right. Well, and that being said, thank you for tuning in to PaceSportsPodcast.
Okay.
To see you next time.
The National Wild Card game.
All right, I'm just gonna.
Is the first game that we have, and then we have the American League Wild Card game. So let's talk about those first. First, we got Washington versus.
I'm playing 2K.
Or Milwaukee versus Washington. Washington has home field, and they were in that race against the Cardinals till the end. But they couldn't come up. But who do we got for Milwaukee versus Washington?
I cannot bet against Max Scherzer at home. I like the Nationals.
And they still got Strasburg if they really need to go to him. That's super deep.
It's risky. It's risky.
You feel Milwaukee's still without Yelich, right? And then they just kind of got really hot randomly. So they are a hot team, but I don't buy a lot into that in this elimination game. They're not that great of a team. Washington's just a better team. Their offense is good when they're hot, and they got really good starting pitching. You worry about that bullpen. They have one of the worst bullpens in the postseason. But they don't even have to go to that bullpen. They'll just go to their starters they need in this game. I like them in a one-game series.
And Washington has my MVP of the MLB, Anthony Rendon.
Mm-hmm.
Of the National League, not the MLB.
Most underrated player in baseball. I feel like he's talked about as the most underrated player in baseball so much that he's no longer underrated. But
I still think he is. He's a very good, talented player.
Good. And he was someone that really benefited from the juice baseballs this year because the way his swing path is, it's not like a big home run swing, like that kind of thing. So like he hits a lot of balls that are line drives that get kind of close to going out. So he benefited a lot and put up a ton of home runs this year. So that was big for them. But I think Washington wins this game because I think they can go to Scherzer, and if he's on a quick leash, even Strasburg has been really good recently. So
Yep.
And his ceiling is just so high.
And
Such a good pitch stuff.
Another thing is Milwaukee is 40-41 under 500 on the road, while Washington's 50-31, a nice record at home.
Definitely like Washington that game. I feel way more confident about that game than I do the next game in the American wildcard game between the Rays and the A's. This one is a crapshoot. I don't know what to say in this game. I mean, you just kind of give the slight edge to the A's because they're at home. I feel like that's like the tiebreaker.
To an extent, but I don't think that these Rays are going to be rattled by.
Yeah, I don't think.
I hope the Rays lose just so you stop talking.
Okay, done. But okay, I really just want them to win so I can go to a game at home versus the Astros. But
I get to place to myself again. Sweet.
I definitely think that the Rays don't. I think they actually play a little better on the road, but I think the A's are going to get that. That's 55,000 people that are going to be there for the A's that they're trying to draw in, and I think they'll get them. And that place with all the drums, they're going to be rocking. That's a tough environment. When that Coliseum's full, that may be the toughest environment to play in sports. The problem is it's just never full.
I don't know about that.
Super tough. It'll be the loudest environment
to play
baseball. It will. For the A's here.
I don't think it's the toughest place to play in. You saying sports or in baseball?
I'm saying just because the capacity is going to be full and those fans are absolutely crazy.
Oh, yeah, they sure are crazy in Oakland. Come on.
When they are full, that's a scary stadium. I'm just saying you don't see a lot because the stadium it's not full.
You could say anything about if there's a million people running at you, they're pretty scary.
Yeah, I know, but they have that. It's a stadium that sucks during the regular season because it's not fun when it's not filled up.
There's a reason. There's a reason why they're a low market team. You're going to have people there that are going, oh, let's go get drinks, guys. Yeah, who cares about baseball, especially with the third inning when you had Charlie Morton.
I disagree.
Striking out everybody. Charlie Morton has had a good success against Oakland. He had 2 games this year.
Yep, and one run of 13.2 innings.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, Tampa Bay I think they're probably better on the road. They have a 48-33 record. That's 15 games above 500 on the road.
Warriors.
So obviously, they do not care where they're playing.
The guy with the weirdest splits, too, the guy who plays every day for the Rays and Willie Adames, he plays way better on the road. He hits like 300 on the road and like below 200 at home. So like you almost want him to be on the road.
Oakland was in this spot last year. They got just totally dominated by the Yankees. Now I think the Rays are hungry. They're a young, exciting team with a good mix of veterans that can give that playoff experience. You got Charlie Morton, of course. So I think it's a tough one. Like you said, it's a crapshoot. I'm leaning Oakland I just think that the offense is too much in the later stages of the game. If it's like a tie, close game, 2-2 range, in the later stages. I just have to give the edge to Oakland.
It's almost good they're playing this in the Coliseum. That is not a hitter-friendly park. And
yes, I agree.
And that kind of helps. Like, he keeps the ball in the ballpark there, and you're hoping that Charlie Morton doesn't give up. He gives up homers at the lowest rate of any starting pitcher in baseball. So you're hoping that doesn't become a way that the A's win for the Rays fans. And the Rays, the other good thing that they have, that as Charlie Morton go out there and dominate, you have guys that match up really well. Like, their bullpen is really good for matchups, so they're okay with throwing their whole pen out there. They're going to do whatever they need to win. And if they need length because Charlie Morton's not pitching well, they still have Tyler Glasnow that can go out there and have nasty stuff and pitch well. Sean Manaea, though, how is he going to play for the A's? That's the biggest question mark. Sean Manaea for the A's, if he can be that pitcher that when he's at the top of his game, I know he's had the injury problems this year, but if he's there and he's pitching for the long game, and you can always have fires come in for you, they can be just as good pitching as the Rays are. And they have Hendricks. Hendricks is probably the best closer in baseball this year. So, and he came out of nowhere. I mean, Pagan's been good for the Rays too, and Nick Anderson, but the back end of that A's bullpen, they don't have Trinan this year, who didn't play well. The very back end, their bullpen's not great altogether, but you only need a good back end in a one-game series, and they have that back end. Good.
The only way the Rays win, I think, is if they score heavy early.
They want to
4 or 5 runs in the first 3 innings.
They jump out onto a lead, and then they trust their bullpen. This is going to be a low-scoring game, almost definitely. I don't think the team puts up a lot of runs here.
I do think that the first inning could provide some runs.
Yeah.
And it needs to be Tampa that scores if they want a chance to win this.
Tampa to come out. And Tampa is really predicated a lot on their top of the order. You got to get Tommy Pham and Austin Meadows. Those are their best hitters up. Yep. And if it's against Shamanaya, they're going to have to go Yandy Diaz to just come back, so he'll probably end up leading off because that's where they put him on the last game. And then Avisail Garcia will play. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the outfield because, like, Austin Meadows is definitely playing. Tommy Pham is definitely playing. You want Garcia to play because against a lefty, he hits better against lefties. I mean, Kevin Kiermaier has got to play, so I guess – but so does Yandy Diaz, and he has to be DH, so who gets left out there? Like, is it Kevin Kiermaier? Is Kevin Kiermaier not playing in this game? Like – one of those guys is not playing against a lefty. It's crazy. If you're going to say that Yandy Diaz is playing and he has to DH because they're not letting him play the field.
Well, I would say they might not be starting, but I do think if KK was on the bench, he'd definitely make an appearance sometime in the game.
And he actually hits better against lefties, so like you got to kind of feel like he has to play. Like he's the face of this team.
Captain. He's the captain.
Yeah, and he provides so much defensively too that like. Yeah, you got to put him out there, but that means
you
probably
feel good about putting him in.
Garcia will probably be on the bench, and that'll be interesting.
That's not a bad move for a pinch hitter and a late spot. Running.
You're going to use whoever you can use here.
Yeah, it's a one-game win-all, and I think that if the Rays do win this game, there could be success in the future. I'll be ominous with that, and we'll go back to the NL to talk about our predictions.
Yeah, the other thing that I think in this game that's interesting is Charlie Morton really likes Mike Zunino catching him, but you got to have Travis d'Arnaud out there for the Rays, and it'll be interesting to see. Like Zunino can't hit, but like if you think he's giving you a bit, you put him out there. I don't know. There's a bunch of lineup things. They don't even know who they're gonna bring because like they gotta get a 25-man roster. Who's it gonna be? How much pitching are you gonna put into it? Because you have a lot of starters who can't go far. Just interesting. A lot of roster choices are interesting. But back to the NL, let's just look at this these next series as the wild card winner versus whatever team because it's easier to do that. We can look at both who we think would win, but I think here the Dodgers are definitely favored against Milwaukee by a lot, and against the Nationals they're still favored. Though I think the Nationals could cause some problems.
Yeah, I agree. I was just about to say that. I think the Nationals will give them a run, but I don't see the Dodgers losing, especially when they have home field.
The Dodgers pitching. Just worried about that back into the bullpen. Kevin Jansen hasn't been great.
Yes, for them, that is a worry, but not in the first series.
You're worried, but they have really good. They have some of the best starting pitchers in the league. I mean, some of them started to play worse, but like Kershaw, even though he's not what he was, he's still a really good pitcher, and he's pitching well down the stretch. So, but like the thing you're scared is Washington could steal 2 games with Scherzer and Strasburg. In those 2 games that they pitch, and Strasburg could end up, if he doesn't play in the wildcard game, could pitch 2 games. So you're worried about them stealing those games. You have to make sure you win 50% of those games for the Dodgers. You win those games that your starting pitchers are close to equal. Yep. And then obviously win the games where you have the better starting pitchers. But I think the Dodgers win this one.
Yeah, still. I like the Dodgers in about 4 games.
Mm-hmm. I think that too. I think they give up 1, but I think they still win pretty handedly. This one,
I wouldn't be shocked if it's the first one too. But
this one's interesting because I think the Braves, they got a really good offense, and you could always see the Cardinals sneaking this out. They're kind of that team that like you don't expect to do much, and the Braves aren't the most convincing of division winners. But I mean, I think the Braves just put up too many runs to lose the series.
This is my first upset. I think. Just St. Louis, the experience, I can't explain it, but it just seems like this is a series that St. Louis is going to do well in.
I think when they get home, those 2 games at home, Busch Stadium's a tough place to come into the playoffs. So
I think the pitching's better. I think the hitting is competent, and I just think that it'll go 5 games. I think the series goes 5 games, guaranteed.
I want to see Adam Wainwright pitch a big game. I know he isn't the pitcher he used to be, But I mean, in the playoffs, sometimes you just become the
You
best
never
pitcher
know.
that you can be. And I want to see him have another big game. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
But I had the Braves winning this in 5, but I could really see it going either way. And my fun bracket that I did, I had the just like what I want to happen. I had them playing the Rays in the World Series
Uh,
for fun.
Fun
that's
bracket.
sweet.
That's the fun bracket.
Well, I have in my fun bracket. I have all the teams just spontaneously combusting, and the Yankees win the World Series. But
it's the dream.
yeah, Cardinals win in 5 is my prediction.
I got the Braves win 5, but I mean it could go either way. That's a 5-game series. I think it'll be a fun series. I think it's a sneaky fun series to watch that just will be competitive. Okay, we can go back to the
baseball
AL.
and fun to watch in the same sentence.
The commercials are pretty rad.
Yep.
That
And
is fair.
playoff baseball has a way. It's the same with football or soccer. When you're looking at these, like, if the game matters, it becomes fun because
See, the difference is soccer's entertaining when it's tied 0-0.
so is baseball.
Baseball's more entertaining. Soccer's 0-0 for a very long time.
One swing of the bat and it changes. Same with soccer, one goal. So I mean, it's fun to watch. Especially pitcher duels are really fun. When a pitcher's dueling and he looks good and he's just striking out people left and right, it can be frustrating for the team he's facing.
And the fans.
But it's fun to watch sometimes.
Long at bats get to me.
And you guys
Long
go
at
back to your
bats.
playoff picture. Sorry.
Okay, let's go Rays or Athletics versus Houston. I think the both teams could cause Houston problems. I don't think this is a lock for Houston. I do think the Rays match up better against Houston. They won the season series, and they had that pitching depth that can match Houston. I don't think I'd ever pick against Houston here, but I definitely could. I want to pick the Rays if they play here, but I would still pick Houston in my actual bracket here.
Here's my hot take. I know you said you want me to pick there's the NL wildcard winner versus Astros, but no, I'm not doing that because here's my hot take, and it's going to be surprising to all three of you that listen. We have the Rays and A's. I think the A's win. If I had a pick, if you made me pick a team in that game, I'd take the home field team most nights, really. But I take the Athletics. Now, if the Athletics do win, I think that they lose to Houston. I think that these teams know each other very well in the same division. I just think Houston, although it's been good, their series were closer, then I don't think Houston dominated unless I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm. And it was 8-11, so the A's won 8 games and the Houston.
Okay, so yeah,
so it's close.
Pretty close. Yeah. But Houston still has the edge, and I think that Houston's just more talented of a team.
Houston can win those original games. Plus, like, you go deeper into that series, you've used your best pitcher for the Astros. What do you have? Fires left to pitch game 1. You're probably not going to win that against Verlander. Cole's almost definitely game 2. They're almost definitely going to win. There's no one there to face. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's scary going into any series that has any length against them because the A's just don't have the starting pitching to match up.
Now, a big however. If the Tampa Bay Devil Rays do somehow, and I'm not saying somehow, they probably can. They have a good shot of doing this. If they can upset Oakland and take the AL wildcard game, I'm going to go with an upset in the ALDS where the team that a lot of people have as their World Series favorites and world champs are going to lose to the Tampa Bay Rays, a team that hasn't made the postseason since 2013. Am I right?
Yep.
2013.
They lost
to
the Red Sox.
Rangers or Red Sox. Okay.
They beat the Rangers all the years before.
Oh, okay.
They did beat them in Game 163 that year, and then they won the wild card game against the Indians, but then they lost to the Red Sox.
I think the Rays, again, they had good success in the season series against Houston. Mm-hmm. You have a Charlie Morton that wouldn't pitch in Game 1, but Charlie Morton knows that lineup, and I know it's silly to think, he really does know. Listen, these guys are human. You hang out with these players, you watch them play on a daily basis. In your head, you don't think, I could definitely strike that man out with this type of pitch in this location. Yeah. He knows this lineup. I think pitching for Tampa is just as good. Its ceiling is just as good. I'm not going to say it's, on a daily basis.
I think their bullpen is better.
I think the bullpen's better, and I think the starting rotation can be
as long as they can get the length there, because you definitely know that Charlie Morton can match up with Verlander if he needs to. That he's been really good. He's been that good this year. Garrett Cole, if Glasnow is what he has been for the season when he's pitched, he's just as good as Garrett Cole was this year, which is insane to say because Garrett Cole was a Cy Young. But when you have an ERA that's hovering around 2 and just absolutely nasty stuff that Glasnow has at his ceiling, he's throwing strikes. And his rehab starts when he was coming back, he looked really good, throwing in the hundreds.
We know Glasnow is the real deal.
Filthy. And then you have the rest of that rotation to Snell. He was a Cy Young Award winner last year.
Yeah, I'm not big on
Greinke. I mean, I'm not as big, but I think if he's pitching well, he can pitch as good as Greinke. Greinke has those starts that you're a little worried. Runs. The Rays hit Greinke actually pretty well in the start they played against them this year.
Garrett Cole he's had those starts against Detroit of all teams. Listen, I think that this Rays team, and I just want to clear the air because Jackson King is one of the biggest Rays fans of all time. I am 137.2% not. I do not like the Rays. I hope that they lose 10-0 tomorrow or Wednesday. But I'm going to be the, Aristocat, the Disney Aristocat here, and say that they will produce solid offense, and their pitching is adequate. Not more than adequate, I would say. And I think Tampa
don't compliment them too much.
Shot. I'm going to give them the upset, and
This is a good one to bet. If they win that game, I would feel very good about taking because I think the Astros are going to be heavily favored when that series comes around. I think it'd be a good bet. I would love to.
Oh yes, sir. And I'm looking at it right now. And if you're taking a futures bet, Tampa Bay is 2,500 to 1 right now to win the World Series. It's solid. I mean, it's not going to happen. Sorry, but it's not going to happen.
Put a dollar on it.
One series, I think they could definitely do it. If they can get through the wild card game, they will win. They will beat Houston in 5 games at Houston.
Yep, and they pull it out. And I want to see Charlie Morton on the mound at the end of the game coming in relief because he pitched, let's say Game 2 or Game 3, but he's coming in relief for Game 5, and he gets the last outs, and they're celebrating in Houston, and they have to watch Uncle Charlie beat them out. That'd be fun to watch, just for my own personal sake. I think the other series, I think this one's, I don't trust it. The Twins have to out-hit the Yankees, but the Yankees can play just as good offensively as them. They have a better bullpen for sure than the Twins have, and they're starting pitching when it's at its top. Even when it's not that great, it's just as good as the Twins, but it has a higher ceiling. I just don't see an area unless the Twins just somehow their offense is so good that it finds a way to win this. But they rely on the home run so much. I don't like the Twins here. I think the Yankees win this one in 3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees have had the Twins number in recent postseason history. Mm-hmm. You look back to the Yankees World Series year in 2009, they swept Minnesota in the ALDS, even though they were close games in the beginning. And I believe 2 years ago, they beat the Twins in the wild card game. So I think this is definitely a better Twins team than those years. And I think that the Twins are going to put up a ton of runs, but I think the Yankees will as well. This Yankees team is beaten, battered, and on their last leg, but they've been like that.
They're coming back kind of healthy. They got Stanton. They're starting pitchers coming back, and they have that back of the bullpen that you want. They have guys that are really good in the back of the bullpen. The guys that can shut people down.
Severino is the big key.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Can he be that starter that gives them big wins when they need it, or at least match up against those number one starters? Like if he's going to end up facing on the other end, if he's going to face Cole or Scherzer, Cole and Verlander or Charlie Morton and Tyler Glasnow, can he be that starter that goes out there and gives them a win in Game 1 or Game 2?
Yeah, I think he can. I think he's ready for that. He's had the experience. He's done it. And I think the Yankees win in about, I'd say, 4 games. Mm-hmm. And even though it's in Minnesota, I think Game 4, it doesn't matter where the Yankees play. They hit and they win. So I like to, even though a little rough stretch towards the end of the season, they were not playing. You could tell they were not playing for home field advantage. And really, I mean, I don't think any team does this, but who would want to take on one of those wild card teams in the Rays or Athletics? I think
the Yankees got lucky playing the Twins. Like, I think those wild card teams, especially the one that wins there, they're pitching and just like the Twins aren't as scary because they're more one-dimensional in how they've won. But when you're multi-dimensional in the playoffs and you can use that to your advantage and you don't have to rely on one thing that if it cools down, then you're just like an average team. That's a lot more scary to face. So I think the Yankees kind of lucked out. They kind of want to take that path.
They got lucky, but it's going to be tough. Twins are going to be a tough.
They are going to be a tough team. But I personally, if I was a Yankees fan, I would actually rather play the Twins. It's close and it's not that big of a deal, but I would rather.
Personally, I am a Yankees fan, and I would rather take on the Rays and slap them around.
Oh, 100%.
On the phone.
I mean, the last 2 games that the Rays played, they didn't. I mean, then
and
the Yankees didn't really care that much in those games. But I mean, Kelly Morton shut down that lineup, so like you're a bit worried about that.
No, I'm not worried about that because the Rays had something to play for. How about postseason? And the Yankees, what did they have to play for? Try not to get injured.
They still have their hitters that are trying to hit. Like they at least care about personal stats. Hitters are never going to go out there and be like, I'm going to throw away some at bats. Like that's a game that they semi care about. And yes, they're not throwing their best out there. And yes, the Rays, but like it
sounds like you just agreed.
The Rays could definitely win. I would not feel super confident as a Yankees fan against the Rays, as confident as the record has shown this year that they've played head-to-head. A lot of those games were close games, and if the Yankees didn't pull around late, that they took like larger leads late, those games were competitive for a long time, and they could easily swing the other way. I still think the Yankees are a better team, and I'd still pick the Yankees if someone put a gun to my head, but I don't think it's to the level that other people put it. Let's go to the NLCS.
Do we record that?
Championship Series. We obviously have the Dodgers making the World Series. I don't think.
Jackson.
Yeah.
One more thing on the AL, on the Yankees.
We'll get back to the ALCS.
Wait, you're doing your entire playoff bracket?
We're just
now?
like semi. We'll pick our winner. Pick our winner now.
I thought you were just gonna go round by round.
We're kind of going round by round, but we're differing too much to say who we're going for here.
Yeah.
So here we go. Rapid fire. Here we go.
NLCS, I think we both have the Dodgers winning no matter who they play, the Braves or the Cardinals.
Dodgers win it.
Yeah, Dodgers win the NLCS. I think the ALCS, for me, it's just you either pick. It's too hard to not pick the Astros or the Yankees coming here. I feel like if someone's gonna make it here, it's gonna be the AL wildcard winner. It's gonna be the Yankees or the Astros, and I actually think it's gonna be probably the Yankees. I feel like the Yankees have the easiest path here because they could end up playing the Twins and the wildcard winner versus Houston having to play probably the wildcard winner and the Yankees. I kind of like the Yankees' path here, and I think that they could if they could win an early series, like they could beat the Twins in 3 and have time to rest their starters and feel good versus the Rays. Or the wildcard winner, the A's, if they did make it and they won that game, they would have had to use their best pitcher in the AL wildcard game, probably a long series against the Astros, because I feel like that's going to be a long series, and they're going to have to go into that series. I think I got the Yankees winning the ALCS. I think they have them going to the World Series.
Yeah, I have the Yankees as well, and it's not anything but bias. I just think that this team is, again, like you said, they have the easiest path, I think, and not against the Minnesota Twins at all. They had a great year, one of their best in recent franchise history. But
again, it pains me to say the Yankees win. I just like to put that on the record. I would never, ever say those words as far as a fan, as far as what I want to happen.
Look at us. I'm taking the Rays in a series, and you're taking the Yankees to win almost the whole thing. Let's see what we can say in the
World Series. I will also pick them to win the whole thing here.
Wow.
I don't like the Dodgers. I think their path is too easy, and I think that almost hurts them when they get to the World Series. They're going to have to face their toughest position. I have whoever comes out of the AL winning this game.
Yeah, I agree.
Any team in the AL except for the Twins, I have winning.
Yeah, I don't think the Twins do it. I don't think the Rays do it. I don't know why.
I think the Twins have run into a big problem if they made it this far. Their pitching, you'd use whatever they had in pitching up. I think they would have almost no chance in a World Series. Every other team in the AL has a good enough pitching. It's actually a really good bullpen as far as in comparison to the NL bullpen problems that all the teams have been having. I think the AL wins just because every team has a good bullpen.
Yeah, I think the AL is definitely the better league in the MLB, and I agree. I think the Yankees are going to win the AL, and that's why I have them in winning the World Series. I don't want to jinx it, and it's a very good possibility. It's more likely that they're not going to win the World Series than they are, and especially if they take on Houston. But I just think if you had to pick a team, I would take the Yankees because if you look at, especially if they had their whole roster, but obviously that's not going to be the case, this team from top to bottom is great on offense and solid on defense and solid in the pitching. And although Houston, I could probably say the same thing. With their lineup is great and their pitching rotation is great. Yankees got some experience. They got some youth. They got some heart, and they have a crazy home field advantage. Oh, not home field advantage, but when they play home games at Yankee Stadium, it's nuts. So I'm going to take the tradition. I'm going to take the chase for 28, and the Yankees and Aaron Boone, the manager of the year in the AL, win.
That's not true.
He put together a monstrosity.
You know how many innings the Rays bullpen threw that Kevin Cash had to put together?
No Kevin Cash. Don't give me Kevin Cash.
Okay, and you go about the Yankees' injuries. The Rays had a whole lot of injuries, and as far as WAR loss on injuries, they had the highest amount. So, I think the Rays. He has an argument this year. I think that Bob Melvin still has an argument, even though he won it last year. I think it's either. I think it's going to be the same three managers that they had last year that are going to be. Also, Rocco Baldelli has a claim. Takes the Twins to winning the division when everyone had basically already given that to Cleveland. But the Twins went out and got free agents, and they made it. And I mean, they did. Now, if you had to say that I had to pick one team to win the World Series, I'd still pick the Dodgers because I feel like they're the most likely to make the World Series. So I'm going to pick them. No, I would just say because the Dodgers have the easiest path of the season because they're playing NL teams, and the NL teams are just not as good as the AL teams. So they're most likely to make the World Series, so therefore they're most likely to win it. Because, like, it's not fair. Like, their ALCS, they're going to play either the Braves or the Cardinals. Neither team is that scary, and if they play the Cardinals, oh my goodness, what a break for them. That's like playing a wild card team. They were basically a wild card team this year, and not even that great of one at that.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think that they have an easy path, and I just want them to lose again. It brings me great joy to see them lose. It brings me great joy to see the Rays' former GM lose, too, who's on the Dodgers. Because all our front office members go somewhere else after a couple of seasons.
All right, no pity party here. You're in the playoffs. Be happy.
Yep, I am happy. I just want us to win the wildcard game so I can see some more Rays baseball and also selfishly go to a playoff game because that's fun. It's always fun to go to a playoff game, even if you don't.
Watch and get lose
even if you
12-0.
don't. No, even if you don't like enjoy that team, just playoff atmospheres are fun to watch. That's the best time of seasons for any sport.
Best.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's we'll have more baseball when we know who the wildcard winners are, but it'll be less than this. This will be our longest baseball segment
ever.
So probably until.
Oh, I got a blast, guys.
Till next October.
Yeah, when the World Series matchup comes up, maybe we'll talk about it.
That I can justify that.
Yeah, but this was the overall plan. This will be the longest until the World Series.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. Next time we're gonna talk something about Week 5, whether it's before or after Week 5. I don't know.
Good with Wednesday?
I don't know. Before, after.
I don't have an exam.
We don't need it. Don't schedule it while they can hear us.
Yeah. Okay. Why not? We want them to.
All right. Next time, whether it's before or after Week 5, we will do something on Week 5. Basketball season's right around the corner. NHL season's picking up. The pregames.
Your hatred of baseball.
Let me just outro so we can get to our Week 5. We're going to talk about that. Basketball, NHL, they're about to start. We're going to talk about that. Baseball is finally almost over, so we're done talking about that for a few months.
Suck.
What else? Premier League soccer, if you do want to hear about that. I've been watching it recently. I've kind of enjoyed it.
Soccer in general. Also, I'll talk about the MLS.
So with that being said, see you next time.
Adios. Ronnie's already out.
Yeah, he leaves early every time.